The following is a program of the Santa Barbara County Education Office. To learn more, visit sbceo.org.
Hi, I'm Susan Salcido, Santa Barbara County Superintendent of Schools, and I'm so delighted to introduce my guest today, Desiree Hitch, who's a third-year teacher at Righetti High School at the Santa Maria Joint Union High School District. Desiree was recognized this year as one of 3 distinguished new educators for Santa Barbara County. Congratulations, Desiree, and welcome.
Thank you.
We're so excited that you're here and want to talk all about your teaching career and your basketball coaching career too. But let's first start about you and your childhood. Give us a little picture of where you were born and raised and grew up.
So I was born and raised in Santa Maria. I went to Rice School and then Ralph Dunlap School, Orchid Junior High, and then Righetti. So I graduated from Righetti in 2008. And then I went to Cal State Los Angeles and I played basketball there and I graduated, and then I came back and I started working at Righetti. So I've been at Righetti for a long time.
Full circle.
Yeah.
And I understand you have a pretty big family, deep roots here in Orchid and Santa Maria. Can you say a little bit about them?
Yeah, so I actually have, my grandfather is named Joseph Dominguez, and we right now have 5 generations of Joes. My grandfather was the first one. So we have 5 generations. One of the Joes is the principal of Santa Maria High. A lot of my family members are really invested in education. I have an aunt that works at Pioneer, a cousin that works at Righetti as a teacher, and one at AG. So a lot of us are in the field of education. We like to help students and just kind of give back to the community.
What was their reaction, or some of their reactions, when they heard you were named a Distinguished New Educator of the Year?
They were really proud. I think it's just another great way for us to get our name out there, and it's kind of an accomplishment. I don't think any of my other family members have gotten this award, but I know that they were really excited for me.
That's great. And you attended Righetti, you said, and I know that you were recognized as an incredible defensive player in basketball and went on to play at college. I think that you probably have a competitive streak in there, right? And so how does that factor into your professional life today, that competitive streak?
Well, I think the class that I'm teaching, it's a support class for English learners, and they need that motivation and that encouragement. So I think my competitiveness that I've gotten growing up playing sports and mostly basketball, it's really tied into becoming a teacher. I kind of feel like I'm a coach in the classroom. I'm always trying to encourage my students, give them some motivational talks, and just let them know that they can do it. And and I do the same thing in the gym when I coach too.
And what did you major in college?
I studied business administration.
And what made you decide to go into teaching?
I honestly did not know I was going to be a teacher until I moved back to Santa Maria, and I got the freshman coaching position or job, and I started working with the high school students, and then I became an instructional assistant in the special education classroom, and I realized that helping students and whether it's in the classroom or in the gym, it made me extremely happy. It was really rewarding, and working as an assistant was great, but I figured I already have my bachelor's degree. I should go get my teaching credential and do things how I want to in the classroom and become a teacher. So that's how I decided.
It drew you in.
Yeah.
It sounds like it really drew you.
Definitely.
Yeah. So after college, you knew you wanted to come back to the Santa Maria area, it sounds like?
Yes. My husband, we dated through college, and he went to Cal Poly, and he went to Righetti also. And so I wanted to come back. I wanted to move back right away so I can be with him.
your high school sweetheart.
Yes.
What is his name?
Dominic Hitch.
Very nice,
Yeah.
very nice. Colleagues say so many great things about you, including phrases like the fact that you like to say, why not you, in terms of a student. Tell us about that phrase and what that means, and what does that mean to you?
You know, I see the students that I have in my class, you know, a lot of them have had some unsuccessful years. You know, they've gotten a D or an F the year before, and it's not that they're not capable of succeeding in the classroom. It's just that for some reason they have low confidence, and they feel like they can't do the work. And so I always try to explain to them, you are capable, you can do the work, so why not? And I always, you know, my parents, they didn't go to college. And I tell them that. I'm like, I'm the first person in my family to graduate from college. You know, and nobody thought that I was going to be able to do that. So you can do the same thing. You just have to have, you know, that mindset. And it's the same thing that I tell my athletes, why not you? You know, I tell them every single day they're the best basketball team on the Central Coast. I would handpick all 12 of them out of everybody in this area. And I tell them that every day, and then they play like it. They have that confidence because they know their coach believes in them.
So why not you, in terms of your classroom and on the court?
Yes.
And you really have high expectations of your students as well as yourself. How do your students react to you saying, why not you, and you can do this, I have high expectations for you?
I think, you know, at first when they hear that come out of my mouth, I think they're a little surprised to hear somebody, you know, kind of push them and say that they believe in them, because sometimes they don't hear it. And I always see them smile. I get like, they get, you know, they're surprised, but then they smile and they're like, okay, like I can do this. You know, I think it's something that they need to hear, and they know that I'm sincere, and it gives them that little extra push that they need.
And that sincerity, that extra push, probably also comes when you tell them that you're the first generation college graduate in your family. Do they react positively to hearing you say that?
Yes, they do. You know, just I think that they're able to see that I'm very similar to them. You know, I graduated from Righetti in 2008. You know, a lot of the teachers that I have, or that they have, I had. So they can see that we have, you know, a lot in common, and I've been through the same struggles that they have. So I think that they know that I'm sincere and that I mean it.
Yeah. The Student Academic Achievement Seminar is something that you've taught now for 2 years. Say again who the target audience is for those courses. Is it every student who receives that seminar?
No. So the target audience are English learners, and they're long-term English learners, so they had to have been learning the language for over 6 years, and most of them have gotten a D or an F in one core class the previous school year. So those are the students that we try and target to get put into my class so that they can, you know, work on their organization skills and goal setting and motivation. Yeah.
Got it. Long-term English learners, as well as those who may need a little extra support academically also.
Yes.
And one of the things that we find, and I know you find the same, is that students are more successful if they're engaged in school and engaged in the classroom. And I know that that's something that you work towards, is student engagement. How do you ensure that there's student engagement in your classroom?
One of the things I try to do is I try to incorporate technology in what we do every single day, whether they have to go on the computers. I'm lucky enough to have a computer lab, so the students use the computers a lot. And I also do a lot of stuff on the computer. I do all my presentations on the computer. Then I also try to make everything that we're talking about relevant to them and you know, what's going on in their lives. Luckily, the topic that I teach is, you know, it's about their future. We talk a lot about college and career, you know, planning. So I try to just kind of explain the importance of it, and so that they can understand that this is really relevant to them. So that I think that the topic itself is really engaging too.
Topics of relevance, you have lots of engagement, high expectations. I can tell that the students in the class probably love to have to learn from you as a teacher, probably very, very motivating in the classes, which is great. And another aspect about you that colleagues have described you as is nurturing. So while you have high expectations and you probably drive very hard in terms of both on the court and in the classroom, you're nurturing too.
Yes.
How does that play out in your classroom?
I think I'm very detail oriented and I notice a lot of things. So whenever any of my students are absent, I notice and I'm like, well, where were you yesterday? And I know all of my students. I try to learn a little bit about all of them, so I can, talk to them about, their personal lives, whether it's like, they have a hobby or they're doing a sport. I always try to just learn a little bit about them. And so I think that the kids know that, I'm very caring and I actually care about their lives. And I've had a lot of students that come to me when they're having like a bad day or they just want to sit in my classroom at lunch. And I think it's because they know that they feel safe in my classroom and it's somewhere where they can be comfortable.
Such a great aspect of teaching, to have those high expectations, to be nurturing, to be really engaged, and also care about the relationships. So very, very fortunate to have you as our teacher in this county for sure.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about another love that you have, which is basketball. You're head coach at Righetti High School for the girls basketball team, but you didn't start there. You started at a different level. Can you tell us about the pathway to get to where you are now in terms of your coaching?
I've been a player my whole life, and I stopped playing in college. That was the end of my career, and so I moved back and I got hired as the freshman head coach at Righetti High School. And I knew right away I wanted the Righetti program to be mine. I wanted to be the varsity coach. So I coached the freshman team for 1 year, and then I was the assistant varsity coach the year after that. And then the following year I got the job as the head varsity coach. So I'm going into my 3rd year as the head coach, and we've been really successful.
You've been very successful, and I want to go deeper into that and peel that apart, because it sounds like you have a very winning team and have had winning teams in the past, but it didn't really start that way. It sounds like there were some hurdles in the past, but you've developed a team that is somebody that is a team that's known on the Central Coast, as you said. So tell us about some of those successes that you've had.
Well, the first year that I got hired as the coach, I had a lot of the same girls that the year before. They're pretty much the same team, but the year before they weren't very successful. I got the job and we broke the school record the very first year for most wins. We went, I think, 22-3. And we were league champions, and we made it all the way to the CIF semifinals, which was a huge deal. The girls hadn't made it or even qualified in CIF for 5 years before that. And we made it all the way. We were 1 game away from the championship, which was really exciting. And then last year, we broke our own record, and we had 25 wins, and we made it to the semifinals again. And we can't quite get out of that one. We want to make it to the championship this year, hopefully. But this year we made it to the state tournament, which was the first time in the history of Righetti that we have ever, been invited to play in state. And that was probably our hugest accomplishment, just to play at such a high level with the best teams in the state of California.
Wow! Congratulations, Coach. Really exciting. What are the ingredients? What makes this successful team hum?
Just the way that the girls and we prepare, we practice hard. I really focus on team chemistry, so we do a lot of stuff outside of the gym so that, the girls get along. It's kind of hard to coach girls. Sometimes they have their, clickiness, but I really work on that so that they can get along and, that they can respect me and they know that I care about them. So when it's the 4th quarter and the game's close, they really come together. A lot of teams can fall apart when the game's close, but our team seems to step it up when it's needed, and I know that they play hard for me. I really emphasize defense. We're probably the most aggressive and best defensive team in this area. And I think that's probably what puts us above everybody else is our defense. We're very scrappy.
So team chemistry is a really big deal for you as a coach and for the team, the whole staff, I'm sure. What are some of the other activities that you would do outside of the court to build the team chemistry?
Sometimes we have a Christmas party every year. Sometimes on a Saturday practice, I'll tell them that we're not going to practice and let's go to Orchid Burger and go grab breakfast instead, and I'll treat them to breakfast. We do hikes together. Before every home game, we have a team dinner, so a lot of the parents will volunteer to host a dinner, and the girls will, get together on the night before the game, and we eat dinner with each other and just kind of hang out. And so the girls are able to really spend a lot of time with each other outside of playing basketball, which I think it plays a huge part on the team. And we also do a really fun summer tournament in San Diego, and it's 3 nights in the hotel with the girls. And this past tournament when we went to San Diego, I took them to the Padres game. And that was a lot of fun.
A lot of fun. So you're really building more than a team. It's really building a family, it sounds like. What do you think some of the girls would say about the life lessons that you're helping to teach them?
I always try to make it beyond basketball, like just being on time to practice. That shows that you care. So if they're late, I say, well, you don't care then. And that plays into, going to class. When you get a job, you have to be on time. You always have to be on time. And I also think just hard work and, you always have to work hard. You have to do the best that you can do. The girls work on communication, working together, holding each other accountable for any mistakes that, they might make, and really leadership too. I have one of my basketball players, she's so quiet, but she's a phenomenal basketball player, and I'm really working with her on becoming a leader and, just stepping it up. So I try to make everything not just about basketball, and just take care of their business in the classroom too and represent our program the right way.
You mentioned the word leader. What have you learned about yourself as a leader, or even manager, but manager or leader as a coach?
I think as a teacher and a coach, I'm learning so much about myself. I think that as a leader, I'm very positive. I get very nervous though in the games. I find that in the fourth quarter, or during a timeout when the games are close, I start to shake and I get really nervous. But I'm able to not show my nerves, and I do a pretty good job, just kind of rallying the girls together. And I'm a really good communicator, and I'm a good motivator, and I've learned that about myself because I never thought I would have been. But I think when it comes to basketball, it just comes natural.
I bet you're the only one who knows that you're nervous. I bet the rest of everybody else feels like you kept your cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's go back then to you as a teacher. How did you react when you heard you were selected as Distinguished New Educator of the Year?
I was extremely excited. I had no idea that I was even nominated. And when I was notified that I got the award, I almost started crying. I read the nomination letter and the letter that my principal wrote, and I was just so grateful and honored just to see that my colleagues and my principal, that they're able to recognize what I'm doing in the classroom, and it was really exciting.
Yeah. Well, you clearly impact the lives of the students in your classroom. And I know that there are certain students, all the students, but there might be one or two that really have impacted you. Are there any particular stories that you can think of in terms of a student impacting you, coming back and sharing with you maybe what your classroom meant for them?
Yeah. I have actually one student last year, we did a project on our careers and researching careers, and he said he had no idea what he wanted to do, and he was kind of resistant to doing the project, but we did our research, and he realized that he wanted to become a pilot. and he wanted to go to school for that. And I just spoke with his mom because his little brother is in my class now, and she said that he passed an exam and he's attending pilot school in Bakersfield now.
Wow.
And that he's moving out there. And it was just, it kind of went full circle, like, okay, we're doing these projects and the kids are resistant to it, but then it's really helping them, and they kind of figure out what they want to do. And I think that was just, on back to school night when I was talking to his mom, it was really exciting to hear. And I felt really, like I kind of impacted him.
Absolutely.
In a way. Yeah.
Absolutely. Congratulations.
Thank
you definitely have something to be proud of there. And that's just one example, I'm sure, of very, very many other students that you've impacted too. Desiree, what would you say is the best part of teaching?
I think that, just being able to spend my day in the classroom with my students, and it's just so rewarding. And every single day is different. It's almost like I don't know what to expect in the classroom myself. But just being able to spend my time with the students and just seeing the impact that I make on them, and just being able to help them out, whether it's just helping them, with their academics or in their life, just being able to feel like I'm making a difference, even if it's the tiniest difference. I think that that's probably just the best part.
And I know you have mentor teachers, you have teachers that you've had, are still at Righetti and have taught you. Anything that a mentor teacher that has taught you that you thought, that's something that I definitely, they instilled in me, and I see that coming forward in your own teaching?
When I was in high school, I had, and he's still there, Mr. Alvarez, and he's a history teacher. And history is my weakest subject, and I have a really hard time in that class. And when I had him, I think it was during my junior year, he changed everything for me. He just made me understand the topic and made me enjoy the class. And, he does a lot of hands-on activities. And it really made a difference with, the way that I look at, the teaching profession and look at history. And, I always think about him, and I think of my students now and how I need to make it, a class where even if they don't like the topic, I have to find a way so that they can like it and they can enjoy the class.
Mm-hmm. Back to that relevance and engagement. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really great. And what would you say about the challenges? What are some of the challenging components of teaching?
Sometimes it's just hard that I can't help every student, or, there's so much that goes on in their lives that I have no idea about, or I had no idea and then I find out. And I think it's really challenging. I mean, I am a young teacher, and I didn't realize the struggles that so many students go through. And I had no idea when I was in high school that there were a lot of my classmates probably dealing with the same thing. And now that, I teach and I work with these students, I see that, they have so many things going on in their life. And I think that that's the hardest thing, is just to, kind of understand that and, and try and be there for them. It's tough.
Yeah. And what about for some of the up-and-coming teachers? I know you're relatively new, but yet you have had 3 really, really great years of teaching. For somebody who's just starting out or even considering teaching, what advice might you have for them?
I would just say reaching out to your colleagues. I'm so lucky that I have such a supportive staff at Righetti, and I really utilize them. Anytime I had a question, I was always asking, the veteran teachers on campus for help, and I know that a lot of the teachers are more than willing to help. I think that is probably the best thing that you can do, just to plan ahead, try and stay organized, because every day is different and every class is different, so even if you think that you have it perfectly planned out, it might not go that way.
Doesn't always go that way, does it?
Yeah.
And if you had a message to students out there who are watching, either in your classroom or at Righetti at large, what's a message you have for students?
I would say why not you? I always tell my kids, why not you? You know, you're here in this world for a reason. You have to find that reason and go and make a difference, and you can do it. You can do whatever you set your mind to.
And what about to parents out there in the community?
You know, I would say that, you know, for the parents, I don't always get to see them as much, and I would love to, but just, you know, keep supporting the kids and, you know, helping them out at home and getting them to school. And, you know, I mean, I don't have any kids yet, but I'm sure it's really tough, you know.
Yeah. So a big thank you and a shout out to the parents, right, for all that they do. And I hadn't asked you this question before in terms of your coaching, but I'm going to make an assumption that there are some community partners out there that really support you and your team, potentially community partners that support you in your classroom for supplies or field trips or things like that. Can you say anything about community partners out there that support your teaching or coaching?
Well, for the class that I teach, we are funded through the migrant program, and so all of the students in my class get school supplies. They get a binder, pencil pouches, pens, pencils, an agenda, dividers, paper, graph paper. They get everything, and so the district orders all those supplies, and I think that that's just a great opportunity that the students get. And the migrant program also plans field trips for the students. We get to visit universities. So last year we got to visit UCLA and UCSB, and you know, that was a first for a lot of my students. Some of them had never been outside of Santa Maria. Some of them have never even visited a college campus, and you know, they were able to visit these universities and, you know, see what college is like and see the students on campus, and that made a huge difference. So the migrant program is, you know, that they're, you know, holding everything together and supporting us so that, you know, I can give the students what they need. And then athletically, you know, I would just say one of the biggest supporters for basketball is probably Roundtable at Giovanni's. We're able to meet every single week, and they recognize our athletes, and it's amazing. You know, the kids get the recognition, and they get lunch, and you know, I get to pick a couple players, and we go and we talk about how our games are going, and it's a great way for all the sports to get together.
That's great. I can't believe it, but we've already run out of time, and I want to ask you even more questions about both your teaching and your coaching, but what you've shared today has just been really enlightening. Congratulations again on being the named Distinguished New Teacher, New Educator in Santa Barbara County. Congratulations on your continued success in the court with your team. Clearly, you're a huge impact and influence to many, not just girls, but students throughout the county and in your school. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'm Susan Salcido, Santa Barbara County Superintendent of Schools. Thank you so much for joining us today for this edition of Education Matters.